Listen carefully, for what seems small at the entrance of your home is not small at all. There is a place where energy pauses before entering your life. That place is your front door. It is not just wood or paint or metal, it is the mouth through which fortune speaks to you. And when that mouth is covered in neglect, dust, or unconscious habits, even the blessings meant for you hesitate and quietly turn away. You ask why money comes and goes so quickly, why abundance feels near yet never stays. The answer is not always in your effort, but in your openness to receive. For 7 days, become aware. Each morning, approach your front door not as an object, but as a sacred threshold. Take water in your hands. Clean it slowly. Remove the dust not just from its surface, but from your mind as well. As your hand moves, let your thoughts become still. Do not rush. With each wipe, say within yourself, I am ready to receive what is meant for me. On the first day, you may feel nothing. The mind will resist, saying, this is useless. But continue. On the second day, you will begin to notice details you ignored before: the corners, the handle, the frame. In the same way, you will begin to notice the hidden patterns in your life. By the third day, your action becomes intention. You are no longer cleaning a door, you are clearing resistance. On the fourth day, something subtle shifts. The space feels lighter. You may not see it, but you will feel it. On the fifth day, your heart becomes involved. Gratitude begins to arise, not because you have more, but because you are more aware. On the sixth day, you realize something important. It was never about the door. It was about discipline, presence, and respect for the flow of life. And on the seventh day, you stand at your entrance and understand nothing was ever slipping away from you. You were simply not aligned to hold it. Money, like water, does not stay where there is blockage. It flows where there is clarity, respect, and awareness. If your entrance is ignored, your life begins to mirror that neglect. If your entrance is honored, your life begins to reflect that care. So clean your front door not out of fear, but out of understanding. Because when you change how you welcome the world changes how it welcomes you. Your front door is the gateway of energy. It represents how opportunities, money, and abundance enter your life. If its neglected, positive flow is blocked, there is a silent truth that many overlook. The entrance of your home is not merely a physical structure, but a living symbol of how you welcome life itself. The front door stands as a boundary between the outer world and your inner space. And everything that enters your life, opportunities, wealth, relationships, and energy, must pass through this point, both physically and symbolically. When this space is ignored, cluttered, or treated without awareness, it quietly reflects a deeper state within you. And what is within you shapes what remains with you. Imagine a guest approaching your home. Before they ever meet you, before a single word is exchanged, they see your door. If it is dusty, neglected, or forgotten, a message is already sent, one of carelessness or lack of attention. In the same way, life itself approaches you constantly, offering chances for growth and abundance. But when your gateway shows signs of neglect, these opportunities hesitate, not because they are denied to you, but because the invitation feels incomplete. The flow of money, like the flow of water, follows paths that are open, clear, and respected. If the entrance of your space carries stagnant energy, it mirrors an inner resistance, perhaps unnoticed habits, scattered focus, or a lack of gratitude. These subtle conditions do not block abundance completely, but they prevent it from staying. It comes, touches your life briefly, and then slips away, as if it has not found a place to settle. When you begin to care for your front door with awareness, something deeper begins to shift. The act itself is simple, yet the intention transforms it. As your hands move across the surface, removing dust and restoring cleanliness, your mind begins to slow down. You start to notice details you once ignored: the corners, the edges, the small marks of time. This awareness is not limited to the door, it expands into your thoughts, your habits, and your daily actions. In this process, you are not merely cleaning an object, you are aligning yourself with a state of readiness. You are sending a quiet message to life. I am prepared. I am open. I respect what is given. This message does not need to be spoken aloud, for it is carried through your actions and your presence. Over time, this small practice begins to reflect in other areas. You become more mindful of how you manage what you already have. You treat your space, your work, and your resources with greater care. And as this inner order strengthens, the outer world responds in kind. Opportunities feel less forced, and what comes into your life begins to stay longer, as if it recognizes a place where it is valued. The front door, then, is not just a structure, it is a mirror. And when you honor it with awareness and consistency, you are, in truth, honoring the way you receive life itself. Awareness is more important than action. Cleaning is not just physical, it's about being present, mindful, and intentional with what you do. There is a great difference between doing something and being aware while doing it. Many actions fill the day, yet only a few truly transform the one who performs them. When you clean your front door without awareness, it remains a task. But when you bring your full attention into the moment, it becomes a doorway to understanding. Awareness is the quiet light that reveals what is usually hidden. Without it, the mind moves in patterns, repeating, reacting, rushing, never truly seeing. You may clean the same space every day, yet never notice the small corners where dust gathers. In the same way, you may live your life with effort, yet overlook the subtle habits that quietly limit your growth. When you approach your front door with awareness, everything changes. Your movement slows, your breath becomes steady, but instead begin to feel each motion. The texture of the surface, the coolness of the handle, the small imperfections all become visible. This simple act begins to anchor you in the present moment. In that presence, the mind starts to settle. Thoughts that once moved chaotically begin to space out. You are no longer lost in yesterday's worries or tomorrow's fears. You are here, fully engaged in what is in front of you. And in this state, clarity begins to arise, not forced, but naturally. This is why awareness is more powerful than the action itself. The action is limited to the physical world, but awareness reaches into the inner world where real change begins. When you clean with awareness, you are also observing yourself. You notice impatience when it arises. You notice distraction pulling your attention away. And instead of following these patterns, you gently return to the moment. This returning is the true practice. Over time, this awareness begins to extend beyond the door. You start to notice how you speak, how you spend, how you react. You become conscious of where your energy goes. And slowly, without force, you begin to make different choices, not because you are told to, but because you see clearly. When awareness enters your actions, even the smallest task becomes meaningful. Cleaning is no longer about removing dirt, it becomes an act of respect. It becomes a reflection of how you treat what you have been given. And in that respect, something within you aligns. Life responds not only to what you do, but to how you do it. When your actions are rushed and unconscious, the results often feel incomplete. But when your actions carry presence and intention, they create a different kind of energy, one that supports stability, clarity, and growth. So as you clean your front door, do not focus only on making it look clean. Focus on being fully there. Let your awareness guide each movement, because in that awareness, you are not just changing your surroundings, you are quietly transforming yourself. Consistency creates transformation. Repeating the act for 7 days builds discipline and slowly shifts your mindset and energy. There is a quiet power in repetition that the restless mind often fails to understand. It seeks quick results, instant change, and visible rewards. But true transformation does not arrive in sudden bursts. It unfolds through steady, consistent action performed with patience and trust. What you do once may inspire you, but what you do again and again begins to shape you. To clean your front door for a single day is easy. It may even feel refreshing. But to return to it the next day and the day after without losing intention, that is where change begins. Consistency is not about force, it is about devotion. It is the willingness to show up even when the excitement has faded, even when the mind whispers that it no longer matters. On the first day, your action is new. It carries curiosity. You are aware, perhaps even hopeful. On the second day, the mind begins to question. It wonders if this simple act can truly make a difference. Doubt arises, subtle but persistent. Many stop here, not because the practice has no value, but because the mind seeks immediate proof. But if you continue, something begins to shift. By the third day, the action becomes more familiar. It no longer feels unusual. Instead, it starts to find a place in your routine. This is where discipline quietly takes root, not as a burden, but as a rhythm. By the fourth and fifth days, the outer act remains the same, but the inner state begins to change. You no longer approach the task with resistance. There is less thinking, less questioning. Your body moves with ease and your mind begins to settle more quickly. What once required effort now flows with less strain. Consistency creates this transformation. It turns effort into ease and intention into habit. As the days pass, you begin to notice something deeper. The act of cleaning is no longer separate from you, it becomes a reflection of your inner order. You start to carry the same care into other areas of your life. You organize your thoughts more clearly. You handle your responsibilities with more attention. Even your decisions become less impulsive and more grounded. This is the hidden gift of consistency. It does not only change what you do, it changes how you live. By the 6th and 7th days, a quiet confidence emerges. Not the loud confidence that seeks validation, but a steady knowing within. You realize that you can commit, that you can follow through, that you are not controlled by fleeting moods or distractions. This realization strengthens you in ways that cannot be seen but can be deeply felt. And as your inner state becomes more stable, your outer life begins to reflect that stability. What once felt scattered starts to feel organized. What once came and went without staying begins to settle more naturally. Consistency is not about repeating an action, it is about building a relationship with discipline, patience, and trust. And through that relationship, you become someone who can hold what they receive instead of watching it slip away. Inner clarity removes outer obstacles. As you clean the door, you symbolically clear mental clutter, resistance, and negative patterns. There is a connection between what you hold within and what appears before you. Many try to change their outer circumstances without ever looking inward, yet the outer world often reflects the quiet patterns of the inner one. When there is confusion, clutter, or unrest inside, it finds subtle ways to appear outside in disorganization, in missed opportunities, in things that begin but do not last. And so what seems like a simple act of cleaning a door can become a mirror into something much deeper. As you begin to clean with awareness, you may first notice only the surface, the dust, the marks, the areas that were overlooked. But if you remain present, your attention naturally deepens. You begin to recognize how easily the mind drifts, how quickly it seeks distraction, how often it resists stillness. These observations are not problems, they are insights. They show you the patterns that quietly shape your daily life. In the same way that dust gathers over time without being noticed, mental clutter also accumulates. Unfinished thoughts, small worries, unspoken frustrations, these settle within you layer by layer. You may not always feel their weight directly, but they influence how you act, how you decide, and how you respond to what comes your way. When the inner space is crowded, clarity becomes rare, and when clarity is missing, even simple choices become uncertain. As your hands continue their steady movement, something begins to release. Not all at once, but gradually. The act of cleaning becomes rhythmic, almost meditative. With each motion there is less tension. The mind, which once jumped from thought to thought, begins to slow. And in that slowing, space is created. This space is important. It allows you to see without reacting immediately. It allows you to recognize what is useful and what is not. Just as you decide which part of the door needs more attention, you begin to sense which thoughts deserve your energy and which can be let go. Inner clarity does not mean having no thoughts, it means not being controlled by them. As this clarity grows, your actions naturally become more aligned. You are less likely to act out of impulse or confusion. Instead, there is a quiet understanding guiding you. You respond rather than react. You choose rather than drift. And these small shifts begin to remove the obstacles that once seemed external but were often rooted within. When the inner space becomes clearer, the outer path becomes smoother. Decisions feel lighter. Opportunities become easier to recognize. And what once felt blocked begins to move again, not because the world has changed, but because your way of meeting it has transformed. The door you clean each day becomes a symbol of this process. It shows you that clearing is not only about removing what is visible, but also about releasing what is carried within. And as you continue, you come to understand that the greatest obstacles were never outside you, they were simply waiting to be seen, understood, and gently cleared away. You must be aligned to receive abundance. Money doesn't stay where there is chaos when you create order, respect, and openness. Abundance begins to flow naturally. There is a common misunderstanding about abundance, that it is something to chase, something to capture, something that comes only through effort and struggle. But abundance, like many things in life, follows a quieter law. It does not stay where there is disorder, carelessness, or lack of awareness. It settles where there is balance, respect, and the ability to receive. Many people work hard, yet feel that what they earn slips away just as quickly. They wonder why money does not remain, why opportunities fade, why stability feels just out of reach. The answer is not always in doing more, but in becoming ready to hold what comes. For receiving is a skill just as much as earning. To be aligned with abundance means that your inner state and outer actions create a space where things can stay. If your life is filled with neglect, scattered attention, or unconscious habits, then even when something valuable enters, it does not find a place to settle. It moves through your life, touching it briefly but not remaining. Not because it is taken from you, but because it is not yet supported by your way of living. When you begin to bring order into small things, you are training yourself in this alignment. Cleaning your front door is not about attracting wealth through a single act. It is about learning how to care, how to respect, and how to remain aware. These qualities may seem simple, but they form the foundation of stability. As you practice this daily, you begin to notice how you treat other parts of your life. You become more mindful of how you spend money, how you manage your time, how you respond to responsibilities. Instead of acting without thought, you pause, you consider, you bring intention into your choices. This shift may be subtle, but it changes everything. Abundance is not only about what you gain at, it is also about what you keep. And what you keep depends on how you value it. When you treat what you have with care, you create an environment where more can come and remain. But when things are taken for granted, they slowly lose their place in your life. Alignment also requires openness. If you carry thoughts of lack, fear, or unworthiness, they quietly shape your actions. You may push opportunities away without realizing it, or fail to recognize them when they appear. But when your mind becomes clear and your actions become intentional, you begin to welcome what is meant for you without resistance. This is why the practice matters. It is not the door itself, but what it represents. It is a daily reminder that you are responsible for how you receive life, that you can create a space both within and around you where things are respected, valued, and allowed to grow. In time, you come to see that nothing was ever truly slipping away. It was simply passing through a space that was not yet prepared to hold it. And as you change that space with patience and awareness, you find that what comes into your life no longer rushes to leave, but begins to stay quietly and naturally, as if it has finally found where it belongs.